What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole Reddit stories. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, and let's just jump straight into them. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Am I the Arsehole Open Relationship? Am I the arsehole for telling my friend that he got exactly what he wanted and he needs to stop being selfish? I have an old college friend, Nick, 32 male. He has a fiancée, Sophie, 24 female. They've been together 3 years and Nick has repeatedly suggested an open relationship, to which Sophie has refused. Until a few months ago, when he said he'd only propose if she agreed to try an open relationship. She agreed. I said to him at the time that he was an arse for it, and he said he was just acting in his best interests. Now Nick wanted an open relationship so he could see Anna, 29 female. A girl we knew from college who he always had a thing for, but she was married from when she was 18 to 26, so he never had a chance till recently. He hasn't had a chance to see her yet because she had been living with her sick mum and they can't afford to rent a hotel room. Now the issue is that Nick showed up at my house last weekend with a suitcase absolutely livid and asked to crash on my couch. He said Sophie had gone out to dinner and had sex with a male model and that she was cheating because he hadn't had the chance to see Anna and it was unfair for her to see someone much hotter than Anna. Not that Anna isn't attractive. I basically laughed at him and told him that this is exactly what was going to happen and that he was being selfish, expecting Sophie not to see anyone or to see people less attractive than her. She's very attractive and I don't know why she's with Nick, to be honest. He went off on me for not being supportive and stormed out and is trying to turn our friend group against me for not supporting him. I've taken a few days to think about it, but I still can't decide. Am I the arsehole? To me, it's hugely worrying that he's targeting this one person that he wants this extra relationship with, and he didn't have his partner's best interests at heart at all in this situation. He wasn't doing it for their relationship or anything like that. It was simply because he wanted a chance with someone he knew just come out of a relationship. So there's no way you're going to be the arsehole in this situation. He's a huge arsehole, and as these are just the consequences for his own actions. But Best Ad 5959 says, well, if it isn't the consequences of his own actions, not the arsehole, he asked for it, he got it. To which Passively Repressed says, looks like someone fucked around and found out. This is literally the way this goes 90% of the time I've ever experienced a friend in this situation. The arsehole partner wants to cheat with permission and overinflates their chances of being able to in their head. They wear their partner down until they agree, and surprise, it's the unwilling partner that goes out and then gets some. Not the arsehole, and he sounds like a super shit friend. Parking Ad says, not the arsehole. Dude didn't want an open relationship. He just wanted permission to cheat. I hope Sophie had realised that the grass is greener on the other side. And Miss Anika says, not the arsehole. He doesn't want an open relationship. He wants to date whoever he wants without any repercussions, while his girlfriend has to be 100% loyal to him. And quote, he said he was just acting in his best interests. Translation, I only care about myself, so everything I do is justified if it benefits me. Maleficent Ad says, rolls eyed at Nick. Not the arsehole, he needs no sympathy. He had a woman in mind when he asked and requested an open relationship, so he could keep Sophie as a backup if his thing with Anna didn't work out. He probably thought Sophie wasn't hot enough to get someone, or thought Sophie would be so in love with him she wouldn't take advantage of what is frankly his demand. Oh man, I hope that he ends up without Sophie or Anna. I think you should lay it out to your friend group, the scam that he was perpetrating on the woman in his life and how whiny ass he was when his scam blew up in his face. And we have one more from Kelly Cade who says, not the arsehole. Wanting an open relationship because one person from your past is now single is a huge red flag, and I hope Sophie realises that soon and leaves him. You are not the arsehole for pointing out Nick got what he asked for. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Let me know in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from, am I the arsehole, not an ambulance? Am I the arsehole for not giving a kid, who I don't know, a ride to the hospital after he broke his leg? This happened yesterday, but I, 28 male, was at my local mall doing shopping. When I finished up, I went out to my car. I parked in an above ground parking building. When I got to my car, I noted there was a bunch of kids, I'd say 14 to 16, rough guess since I didn't bother asking. They were skateboarding, just doing what kids do really. Then suddenly I heard a blood-curdling scream and I look over and I see a kid on the ground holding his leg. So I walk over to see if everything was okay. To say the least, everything was not okay. The kid broke his leg in a bad way. Not sure how, as I really wasn't paying them any attention, but was for sure broken. Everyone was freaking out and I said I'd call an ambulance, which just made the kid cry harder, saying something along the lines like, "My parents are going to kill me." His friends were saying I should just give him a ride to the hospital as it was only 3 blocks away. I thought for a moment and opted to still call for an ambulance. I called the ambulance, they showed up like 5 minutes later. The whole time, everyone was trying to convince me to just drive him. I stayed firm of nope, not gonna happen. The ambulance is on the way. After the kid was put into the ambulance and I gave my statement to the police show up to calls with ambulances to make sure they have all the needed info. The kids were all still complaining that I could have just given him a ride to the hospital instead of making his parents go into debt. Man, I think they watch too much American TV because we're in Canada. No one goes into debt for an ambulance ride here. Last time I had to get an ambulance to hospital, it cost me like $50. Thank you, Canadian healthcare. Anyways, later when I came home, I was telling my girlfriend about what went down, and she called me an asshole too because you should have just done the right thing. The kid was hurt and you have a car. And I said back, and ambulances are a thing, and I'm a total stranger to this kid, and like, what would have happened if the kid somehow got more hurt while in my car? Not trying to catch a case. Wanted some outside perspective. Am I the arsehole for not giving the kid a ride to the hospital? Now, whenever I've done like first aid courses, when I used to do like the warehousey type stuff a few years back, one of the things is that, you know, if there's a broken leg, broken bones, do not try to move them if you can call an ambulance. Unless they're in like real danger where they have to be moved out of a situation, you know, because you could just potentially make things a whole lot worse. And I couldn't imagine too many situations where I would put someone in the car to rush them to the hospital. I'd rather call the professionals who's got the blue lights, who can get there a lot quicker than I can, you know. And the kids' excuse in these ones that they might go into debt sounds ridiculous to me. So absolutely not the arsehole. And I think you did the right thing in this situation to me. But Seeker says not the arsehole. Taking charge of an unknown vulnerable minor whom you don't know without their parents' consent. Nope, nope, nope. You did the right thing. Analbox says, yes. That name. If anyone should be concerned about going into debt, it's OP. Moving someone with a severe break can cause further damage if you don't have medical training. Driving away with a minor stranger in your car is obviously also a legal minefield. If ambulances didn't exist and no adults the kid knew were reachable, I would have driven him, but ambulances do exist. So, Stinky Pickle says, definitely not the arsehole. Liability if you took him. You made the smart move. Mental Currency says, not the arsehole. Visibly broken leg. Ain't no way I'm moving anyone in that state. You likely could have caused more damage. RB1327 says, not the arsehole. An amateur moving someone with a broken leg, trying to get them in a car? Forget it. Ambulances are the professionals to handle this. All Out of F says, not the arsehole. That's why we call ambulances, is because they are properly trained and equipped to handle these things. Putting them in your car could have caused more damage and opened you up to a lawsuit. Tell your girlfriend that you did do the right thing. Nacho Furioso says, your girlfriend isn't very bright. You never move someone with a serious bone break. That's why they have ambulances. You could have very easily made a bad situation worse in trying to move him. Not the arsehole. And one final comment from Here We Go Again, who says, not the arsehole, you did the right thing. An ambulance is better equipped to transport someone with a broken leg than a civilian in the parking lot, since that's readily available and certainly not going to bankrupt anyone. I don't see why you'd ever put the child in your car. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do if you found yourself in that situation? Would you take him in your car? Would you not? Let me know why in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Living Insurance 2432. Am I the arsehole for telling my son's teacher that he's a creep in front of the principal? My son started middle school and puberty, so it's like a roller coaster. His homeroom teacher reminds me of Mr. Van Driesen from Beavis and Butthead, which is kind of funny. His teacher likes the students to talk about their feelings or whatever. My son made a comment that he writes what he really feels on his IG account, which I supervise. His teacher asked me to have a meeting with me, the principal and school counselor, over grave concerns they had with my son. His teacher said my son communicated feelings of fear and terror towards me. I was like, what the fuck? He still asked to sleep with me and loves spending time with me. I said they were mistaken. His teacher begins to recite, I don't ask my dad for anything because he is a scary man. I asked him, when did my son say that, and he said he wrote it on his IG account. I told them my son wrote that after I refused to buy him a hoverboard. Then it hit me, why the fuck were they lurking at my kid's IG? I asked them, and the teacher said, Ozzy, my son, told him about it. I told the teacher he was a creep and he wasn't expecting that. The principal said it was public, so my comment was uncalled for. They thanked me for my time and asked me to leave. Edit, I knew they monitor the kids' social when there is no reason to, but this irked me like they have nothing else better to do. I guess my biggest concern on this one is that you're worried about them being on your kid's Instagram account and all this kind of stuff, when the real reason is that he's afraid of you for some reason. You just seem to be totally downplaying that, which is absolutely ridiculous. But let's check out some of the comments to see what they say, with Sphinx saying, and quoting, his teacher likes the students to talk about their feelings or whatever. And then says, so, do you think that's a negative? Men have feelings. And then quotes, I don't ask my dad for anything because he's a scary man. I told the teacher he was a creep and he wasn't expecting that. And then says, while I understand your son may have exaggerated things, he may have felt more fear than you know. Depending on how you handle turning down the request, you also called a teacher a creep, which doesn't really make me think you handled things diplomatically. Based on this brief story, it does seem like you're probably giving off a much scarier, meaner vibe than you intend to. Dial it back a bit, bro. You're the arsehole. Nightcliff replies that saying, you kind of have a point, but I wouldn't be happy if I learned that my barely teenage kid had a teacher creeping his Instagram. But then it depends. The kid did tell the teacher about it. Does he go around liking his students' photos, or commenting on them, or message them? I wouldn't find any of that acceptable. On the other hand, I do understand why the school would have been concerned about the post. Lizzie says, you're the arsehole. Your son told his teacher that he expressed himself on IG, and you immediately got offended and called the teacher a creep when learning that the teacher had viewed his page for insight. Their right is public, and what you said was uncalled for. BayBrit500 says, you're the arsehole. Your son is expressing fear towards you and you're dismissing it. I'm no expert, but the narcissist red flags are waving right now. To which spoiled rich white girl replies that saying, to be fair, the kid is a teenager. Unless the OP shares the exact post/wording and some context, who knows if it was sarcasm or a kid being a kid or something more severe. I had a teacher call my mother because myself and another girl got caught passing notes, and I said I didn't like a girl in our show choir and said she was useless. The teacher took this to mean I was planning to harm this girl when the note said nothing of the sort. I was not, nor have I ever been a violent person. The teacher was overreacting, and even my mother was like, are you serious? You called me to school for this? We're paying how much to send her here, and this is the problem? You're not even the choir teacher. I will say I enjoyed seeing that part, but it was utterly stupid, as schools have gotten way worse since then. I have to wonder if it wasn't a typical overreaction. iSpot says 2 adults with professional training and a duty to report used public information and personal interactions with a child to raise concern with a parent who reacted angrily with denials. I could have pinned it on the kid being bratty except for angry denial. Yeah, kids say ridiculous things, but that wouldn't pique a parent genuinely concerned for this child's best interests. No determination, not really enough info. And Solrakai says, I disagree with your comment. I had a similar situation with my kid. Teachers are not trained professionals in psychology or psychiatry, and trolling IG accounts of students is creepy as fuck. When this situation happened to me, I ripped the teacher, the principal and the school board new arseholes. And if you think I was wrong, imagine this. Now your kid is branded as the weirdo psycho kid because the whole school finds out they got called in for a counselling session. OP is not the arsehole. Martin Sugar says, you're the arsehole. Your son's teacher was concerned enough about your son's mental well-being to inform you about the information that has been given to him, and you insulted him. 1. Why would you jump to conclusions so quickly about his teacher? 2. If your son's Instagram is public, make it private. If it is private, ask yourself how his teacher saw the post if you monitor his Instagram. It's really sad you can't have a civil discussion as a grown adult. You insulted his teacher over his teacher informing you of his concerns and in regards to your son's home life, and that his mental health may be affected by it. That is ridiculous. This just shows how immature you are. I can see why your son may have difficulties with his home life. You're more concerned with your image than your son's mental health. To add as well, how do you know that it was his teacher who saw it? One of his peers could have showed it to the teacher or the principal. Now, what do you guys make of this one? There's some mixed reactions in there as well. And the mixed reactions mainly stem from, the teacher actually going on to that student's Instagram account and seeing the information there. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for meanly telling my husband to respect my decision to use formula? I, female 29, gave birth to my son a few weeks ago. My husband's been super involved throughout my pregnancy and is continuing his support. However, a few months ago, we were discussing breastfeeding and he said breastfeeding should be our go-to method to provide our son with all the nutrition he needs. Given my medical history, breastfeeding was possible, but we couldn't know for sure until I tried it. And it hurt like hell. Absolute hell. Every time I tried to breastfeed, I experienced pain and discomfort. I tried following different ways to make it easier for me, but I still got an unpleasant feeling. I decided to switch to formula. My husband thought I made a hasty decision by going with formula. He's done a lot of research on the benefits of breastfeeding and said that not getting breastfed would affect our son's health and impact his growth and set him up for health issues in the future. I explained my reasons, but he kept bringing it up all the time. Last night, he brought it up again, after he kept giving me uncomfortable looks in bed when I was feeding our son formula. I asked him why he was staring at me like that, and he went on about the decision I made to use formula. He said he thought I chose formula way too soon and didn't try hard enough to keep breastfeeding, and as a result I've given up on an opportunity to bond with our son. I was getting annoyed because it seemed like he keeps forgetting why I chose formula, but his response was that whatever discomfort I was experiencing, I was being selfish thinking about stuff short term and not realizing how lack of breastfeeding could affect our son in the future. Basically saying I chose my comfort over our son's health. I lost my temper and in the meanest way told him that no matter how much he reads online about this subject, I'm the one going through this experience and the pain and discomfort, and said that and he should respect my choice to use formula and stop acting like this decision was made out of lack of care or consideration for our son. And if he's worried formula is expensive, then it is what it is, because if I can't be healthy, then our son can't either. He argued saying, I'm sorry you got all mad because I was just stating a fact, but I think that as a parent I'm allowed to at least express my thoughts and concerns about what's been going on. I replied that it didn't seem like he was sharing his opinion, but more like guilt tripping, since he does this on the regular. He said that's not true and you know it. I'm not even mad or anything, I'm just disappointed that you chose this route, that's all. This set the tone for the rest of the night. He got out of bed, grabbed his phone and walked out. I felt genuinely bad because the way I look at it, he was just expressing his thoughts, and I was so fast to shut him down and treat him as if he isn't a parent and gets equal say. Am I the arsehole? Am I being selfish? Now the only experience I can talk about this is with a friend who had a baby and they was so keen to do breastfeeding as much as possible, and they were really keen for it, and they was pushed all the way to do it by midwives and various other things, and after having the baby they just couldn't do it. They said it was just so extremely painful to do that they just struggled all the way, but midwives kept coming up to them and like literally trying to force milk out of the nipple and stuff like that, and it was just so painful that they couldn't do it. And this really affected her mentally because she felt less than by people who were telling her, you know, you've got to try harder and all this kind of stuff. And it affected her so much she went to like one of these parenting groups, and when she was in there she was explaining the situation she went through, and the person just said, look, is your baby being fed? Are they happy? Are they healthy? What are you worried about then? Just simple as that, blunt as that. And then her attitude on it was like, yeah, you're right, my baby is happy, my baby is being fed, what's the issue here, right? But Rockabilly Rosie says fed is best. If breast milk is so very important to him, there are medical interventions that he can undergo to stimulate his own lactation so that he can breastfeed. Really? It would be selfish of him not to, really, seeing as this is painful and damaging to you, and you already used your body to grow and birth this baby. Oh, and not the arsehole. And that comment also shared a link about a male who's 33 who can learn to breastfeed. What the? I've never heard of this before. An anxious but living life says not the arsehole. He's guilt tripping you, and as much as he has a right as a parent to be included in decisions of the baby, he does not have the right to tell you what you should do with your body. No one does except you, and you not breastfeeding because it causes you pain is a great reason. But you know what else is a good reason? You simply don't want to. Also, if he can research that much on breastfeeding, he should also be able to research that formula is not bad and is absolutely fine for development, especially since half the population has been brought up on it. And Mimita Pepita says, and quotes, "I'm sorry you got all mad because I was just stating a fact, but I think that as a parent I'm allowed to at least express my thoughts and concerns about what's been going on." And then says, he stated his facts and expressed his thoughts and concerns weeks ago. Now he's trying to press you to cave into the decision that he has made. He gets equal say over things that impact the two of you equally. He does not get to make decisions about your body. There are hormones he could take so that he could breastfeed. He should consider that. He needs to put his money where his nipples are. Or shut the fuck up. Not the asshole. And Pangolin Signal says, not the asshole. He's pushing something that puts the physical and emotional burden 100% on you. And bringing it up repeatedly is pushing it. The milk thing is like a freaking cult. I was guilted into exclusively pumping since breastfeeding it wasn't working. The only reason I don't regret it is later learning about multiple food allergies that might have made formula figuring out even harder. If he's that concerned, he can go and find somewhere to buy safe breast milk, probably expensive as fuck by the way, due to the effort involved. I'd be shocked if he could tell the difference between formula and boob kids in a kindergarten classroom. Fed is best, and the saner you remain, the more you can be there for your baby in other ways that probably matter a lot more. And one more from a livid concentrate who says, until he latches a baby to his own cracked and bleeding nipple 8 to 2,765 times a day, he doesn't get a say in feeding. Not the arsehole. Ouch. Now, what do you guys make of today's collection of stories? Let me know your thoughts and verdicts on all of them if you choose to share them. Never any pressure though either. Just a quick one, as this is the first video as I've just come back from Chester from the past week. Some of you, I heard you saying that some of the stories that may have been repeated and stuff like that, they were just older stories. I had to go back because I had to pre-record a week in advance last week. It was hard work, let me tell you. So apologies if you did see some of those stories on other channels and things like that. But I just got back today and I had to get the mic straight on and get a recording going because I couldn't wait to get involved. I hope you are well. It's great to see you. Thanks to the members who continue to supporting, and for each of you for spending 20 minutes or so out of your day with the channel. It means the absolute world and allows me to keep doing what I'm doing. You mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.